New York Liberty in the offseason didn't do enough to keep up with the rest of the league this year, and this start shows it. Dexter, is that an overreaction or a proper reaction?
This is a situation where it could be getting late early, as I like to say sometimes, right? It could be getting late early. Let's say they go 1-2 on this homestand. Let's just say, throwing that out there. Are we officially concerned? Are we now in the overreaction territory?
You're in proper reaction territory at that point.
Proper reaction territory. Sorry, my bad. In proper reaction. Proper, folks. Proper reaction.
There has been so much action in the WNBA over the last 2 weeks that I find myself saying this almost every single week. Like, oh my God, something amazing has happened, because something amazing has happened almost every week in the WNBA. And it was so much for us to get into that I felt the best way for us to get to all of it is to play a little game.
Come on, games. Good idea.
Here for the game.
Here for the games. So this game is overreaction or proper reaction. I'm going to throw out some statements, and I want you and Dexter to let me know whether or not the statement is an overreaction or if it makes sense, if it's a proper reaction. Okay. So, first things first, and because, we have a special guest who represents the New York market, we're going to start with the New York Liberty. So New York Liberty in the offseason didn't do enough to keep up with the rest of the league this year, and this start shows it. Dexter, is that an overreaction or a proper reaction?
I think it is an overreaction. I know the Liberty have dropped their last 2 games. They didn't look good against the Sky. They didn't look good against the Lynx. But here's the issues for the Liberty in those games. Turnovers and their play inside, right? JJ got in foul trouble in both of these games. They've got beasted on the boards, and they've just been sloppy with the ball. I think the Liberty will work it out. They're back home for a 3-game homestand. I wouldn't overreact. You know this, T. There wasn't that much the Liberty could do this offseason with their cap situation. So I think they will be fine. I'm not worried about all this, but it's early in the season. People got to overreact a little bit. I understand it all, but I'm going to pump the brakes. The Liberty are going to be fine. They didn't look, I'm not saying they look good in those 2 games, ladies, because they did not look good. They got to clean some things up, but I think they will clean those things up and they'll be fine. So I'm going to say overreaction. Let's pump the brakes on this one.
Sharí.
Okay, I'm going to agree with Dexter. But I will say this. I'm tired of Dexter. You just said it now, so I'm going to throw you in this. Dexter and Terrika, I'm tired of the Liberty specifically hearing, they're going to be fine. They just lost and lost, but they're going to be fine. Like, y'all got about another week or 2 to say that, and then it's going to be a proper reaction. But in this instance, I'll give you an overreaction. I do think that the Liberty have the tools to do very well. I don't know if it's a gel situation with them right now, but also understanding that there are a lot of other teams that are getting better and that are playing better. And so I think it's a matter of them just stepping their game up. And like Dexter mentioned, taking care of the basketball is key. But they got superstars on that team. Like, let's not act like we don't know who's on that roster. So right now, as of this week, it is an overreaction. 2 weeks from now, if they still losing, it is the proper reaction.
I'm going to agree with that. I certainly think it is an overreaction right now. And from personal experience, I was one who was very loud last season about how this team did not have that it. And I still feel like this team doesn't have, like, there is something about this Liberty team that I can't put my finger on, that it just doesn't have that it thing. And it is a bunch of great individual players, but for some reason, this is the second year in a row where it has been a struggle for them to find that continuity as a team. Yeah. And the argument that I made last season, which is the argument I'm going to continue to make this season, is that when you play in the New York market, yes, there are 40 games, but you do not have the time you think you do. New Yorkers don't want to wait gracefully for you to figure it out. They want you to win and win now, especially when they know that you have the key pieces to really win a championship, to really be a contender. They're not patient. New Yorkers are not patient. Have you ever driven in New York? They are not patient.
It's horrible.
So there is no room for waiting to figure it out. You got to figure it out, and you got to figure it out soon. And although there was a bit of grace that was given last season, I don't know if you'll get that grace this season, given that you're essentially bringing back the same core. And I think the only consistent piece that I see is Benijah Laney Hamilton. She is consistent day in, day out, offensively. On the defensive end, she's one that will certainly make your life a living hell if she has to guard you. So hopefully they will get it together.
Let me ask you this, T, because I thought Sharí brought up a really great point to that if they don't get it together soon, right? This is a situation where it could be getting late early, as I like to say sometimes, right? It could be getting late early. Let's say they go 1-2 on this homestand. Let's just say, throwing that out there. Are we officially concerned? Are we now in the overreaction territory?
You're in proper reaction territory at that point.
Okay, proper reaction territory. Sorry, my bad. Proper reaction. Proper, folks. Proper reaction. Yeah, I think so. And I think you made some good points. Consistency. Benijah Laney's been their best player this season, hands down. They got to get it together. I think, listen, if they had dropped one of these games and they were 5-1, would we even be talking about this?
No.
Probably not. But they did drop these 2 games, and this is where Sharí's not giving them a pass, and I think 2 things can be true. Yeah, I'm not going to overreact, but like I said, it could get late early real soon, and then Terrika's going to be talking that talk, and we're all going to know what's happening. I get it. I hear y'all.
The Minnesota Lynx are title contenders. Overreaction or proper reaction? Sharí, we'll start with you.
I think that's a proper reaction for now. I think they look pretty darn good. I love what they're doing from the outside. I mean, they're dangerous, for a lack of a better term. They destroyed the Dream. I was in awe. The game started tight and all of a sudden they just ran away with it. And one of the reasons why is they just shoot so well from beyond the arc. I think they're playing with a certain level of confidence that we can certainly see them down the line and they can certainly be title contenders, again, very early. But I think we like to get excited about things, whether a team is extremely successful or whether they're struggling. So we tend to overreact and lean into what we're seeing. So I'm gonna go ahead and lean into how well they're playing right now and say that is actually a proper reaction for now.
I'm going with cautiously proper reaction, right? And
you can't add words.
I made up my whole other category by adding the word there. But here's my thing. Look, you got to be impressed with them, right?
Yeah.
Look at their wins. Beat Seattle twice. They could easily be 5-0. 1 point loss to Connecticut, right? T, you saw that. You know all about that right there. This team is balling. Nafisa Collier has been amazing, and we'll get to her later in this show. She's been amazing right here. So they look like a title contender. They look like they're starting to gel, something we just talked about that we might think is not going on with the Liberty. But this team looks like they're starting to put it together. We saw them play well towards the end of last season. So I think that this team is right there. I don't know if I want to call them a title contender yet, but I don't think it's an overreaction to say that they're playing really well and looking like a title contender. Look at the talent they've played against. Look at their wins. And then, as Sharí just talked about, they took care of business against the Dream, which is something you would want to see a title contender do, Liberty, that they didn't do there. Not to take shots at Liberty again, but I'm just saying, this is what you want to see them doing. Terrika's like, I like this. I love all this. She's like, Dex, get them. No, but they're looking good. They're looking good. So I know I made a whole new category, but yeah, I think it's a cautiously proper reaction. I think so. Cautiously.
I'm going to remove your cautious because I do agree that it is a proper reaction. And I think what's really interesting, or not even so much as interesting, but just a reaffirmation of what we already knew, Cheryl Reeve is that girl. Like Cheryl Reeve is simply that girl. It does not matter what you throw at her, because even when we saw a whole new look for the Minnesota Lynx with no Sylvia Fowles, we were like, Lord have mercy, what's going to happen with this team? What is their new identity going to be? By the end of the 2023 season, we were like, dang, this Minnesota team is nasty.
Yeah.
And they ended up making the postseason, right?
Yep.
So I think my surprise or impression of this team was not that they would be good, but that they would be good this early, this soon, like already 5 games in, and y'all were a point away from being undefeated. Nafisa Collier, always an MVP candidate over the last few years. Kayla McBride, the stroke is stroking.
It's crazy.
Okay. It is like, she is such a shooter. And I don't know what she saw in Natisha Hotteman and Courtney Williams, but whatever it was, it works. Like, it works with that team. And so I just think that Cheryl Reeve, just, my God, she is who she is, and she makes it work, and it is working with them. But shout out to Diamond Miller, though. She is going to be out for an indefinite time with a knee injury. And what's crazy is I was covering that game and I saw her leave the bench with about 1 minute and 30 seconds left in the second quarter. And I saw her go on the back, but I was thinking like, oh, okay, no big deal. It's about to be halftime, whatever it is. She'll be out after the half. And by the time we got to the end of the half, I got the message that she was going to be not returning for the rest of the game. And I'm like, wow. So there's a bit of sadness there, because you know how it is as a sophomore. You want to come back, you want to ball out. You know what I mean? There are a lot of expectations when you're the number 2 overall pick. And so to have an injury kind of put a damper on the season for her this early is so unfortunate to see. But we're going to keep her lifted. She's going to be all right.